Hello YouTube. So earlier today I made a video showing a 820000165 board that had a bad CPU. The customer approved that repair. I sold this board at a discount because I keep their old boards and I use them for parts. Normally these boards on eBay will at 1.8 gigahertz, 8 gig of RAM, they'll sell for upwards of $300. I did not charge that much for that board. This is the SMC chip on the dev board. This will come in handy. I use those for parts. Apple does not sell those, but because I have a boneyard, these parts save other people's boards. And then I also keep replacement boards in stock for people like this customer where the old board could not be fixed. So these are my replacement boards. These boards have already been tested. I've already worked on them. I buy them on eBay broken and I fix them. Sometimes I buy them on eBay working, but they need, they're locked or BIOS locked or whatever, or the repairs are minor. If I get them and they're really bad and they're chewed up, I don't even fix them. I just put them in this drawer, which is where this board's going to end up when we're done. So what we have to do first is we have to transfer the serial number, because it's important you keep your serial number with your machine. Not only does it just match your bottom case, but it's what your iMessage and iCloud and your backups are all tied to this serial number, as well as your Apple ID account. So if you change your board and you do not change your serial number, you're going to have problems. I use a program, a utility here called CMI Zapper. This is their website if you're interested. This device is called a Medusa 3. There is the URL if you're wanting to go check them out. This is not something you buy because you're a hobbyist and you just want to fix your own machine. You're going to spend $400 to $500 on this. So this is something a repair person would buy, but I want to show you anyway. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to have to read the BIOS serial number off of this dead board. Even though the board's dead and doesn't boot, it's okay. It doesn't need to be functional. I just need to be able to read that chip right there. So let's go ahead and slide this machine out of the way a little bit. Need to get my tweezers here because I'll have to be changing dip switches like an old school VCR. So let's get started. I'm also going to need a DCM board because sometimes on a lot of these boards they will not operate automatically off of this. They have to have a little bit of power to wake them up. So let's go ahead and get a DCN and a ribbon installed. And this guy bit it, man. He had so much water damage. I had to replace this and I had to replace this. I had to replace his board. Luckily his screen was okay, his keyboard was okay, his battery's okay. But still, not an inexpensive repair. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is let's pull up our CMI Zapper instructions. This is kind of cryptic. These are the options, from reading the ROM to clearing the ME region, which is handy if you have a MacBook that kind of gets hung when it boots. I never use the pram because I can clear that by just holding keys down. This SVS block, that is for EFI lock boards. This takes care of most all of them. It will not do the T2s. They're working on that. The checksum of the FSYS block, this is to make sure your serial number, even though we change it, it gets automatically corrected during this process, which this programmer, as opposed to using a conventional programmer, which is what a lot of people use because they're less expensive. You can buy these on eBay. To buy them with the special adapters that work on Apples, you're going to spend maybe $80 to $100. You can buy just the programmer itself without the fancy Apple plugs for 10 bucks. So somebody's getting rich making these little plugs. But that programmer, and then using another type of software, which is what I started with, which is called LBE right here. This works. I spent maybe $250 on the solution, so it is less expensive. However, it does not do the checksum bits when you do a serial number, so that's not good. And it's got a lot of heavy, crazy security on it. It shows up as a virus on my computer. It breaks a lot if I have to change something, like if I change my printer to a different printer, or I add a Bluetooth keyboard. the software doesn't work, then I have to talk to these guys online by going to this chat utility, and then I say, hey, my machine doesn't work, and then I gotta send them, you know, my key again, generate a new key, and then they fix it. You know, see, remove your printer and new keyboard without printer. See, because just any changes you make to your machine, it breaks this software. So it's really kind of buggy and a pain to use. So I'm switching and I'm using the Medusa. So let's go ahead and store the serial number of the Mac to the Medusa. So we need to switch these dip switch settings. So we go up, down, 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 up. So let's go ahead and make sure this is correct. So up, down, 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 up. Great. Store Mac serial number. So then let's go ahead and plug this thing in. There. Now see how it says no chip seen? Because it can't see the chip. Sometimes with these, you have to wake them up with a MagSafe. So let's go ahead and do that. Got a green light there. Oh, it's reading the chip. There. It just got the serial number. Stored. Done. So now I can disconnect it. We don't need this here anymore. We don't need this anymore. You get to go to your new home to help the next person. Let's go ahead and get their board. Let's go ahead and get it all hooked up here. Got that on there. Let's set our 1980s Panasonic VCR to write stored serial number to Mac. So that is up, down, down, up, down. Okay. Up, down, down, up, down. Up, down, down, up, down. And you can see on the screen it says write stored serial number to Mac. So, press button to start. I know from experience I will have to give it some MagSafe action or it won't see the chip. Let's plug that in. And let's press start. It says no chip. There you go. Now it's reading the chip. Okay, sometimes I do get this error. Usually because I left the MagSafe on. Right? So let's start over. Little persnickety. This little rascal is a little persnickety. So to get it back into ready to go mode, I just switch these dip switch settings. And it says press button to start. Let's give it a little rip. No chip. It's reading the chip. I do not have a MagSafe in. It's reading the chip. There it goes. Now it reads the FSYS block. Old number, new number. Fixed. Writing. Write mom. And see how it says no change? That's because this is take 2 of this video, but I wanted to show you how it's done. I'd already did this 5 minutes ago. Then somebody called me, interrupted me, so I had to start over. I don't have any editing ability. I use an iPhone. So that's what you do. So it's done. Now we're going to disconnect the device. I'm going to go ahead and leave this plugged in because this is going to my keyboard with my tech drive on it. And I want to boot this machine up and show it running. So let's go ahead and open this little rascal up here. Let's turn it on with the charger. Now we're going to hold down the option key because we're going to want to boot off my hard drive there. We're not going to want to boot off the machine. So look, you can see my reflection. There's somebody in the background. Okay, there you go. So now there's my tech drive. So I'm going to go ahead and enter. Now if you look over here, I should have some USB light activity showing that it's reading off the tech drive. And you can see that the machine is reading. So now we're just going to watch Cement Set as we're waiting for this machine to boot up. And it shouldn't take too long. It's a fairly fast machine. Make sure my mouse is turned on here. On the one side of this keyboard, I've got this, and what's really handy is on the other side, I've got my wireless mouse. So all I gotta do is plug this one keyboard in. I got a complete tester keyboard with a hard drive and a mouse. And this mouse looks gross because I've used, cleaners on boards and stuff, and I get it wet and it melts the plastic, so it's seen better days. We are almost ready to go here. Bingo. There's our picture. So usually when I get a machine I've just done a major repair on, I want to check some things real quick. So I need to check to make sure it has sound. And I'm just going to play this briefly, otherwise YouTube will probably detect this as a copyright infringement. But this is the sound file I have on my tech drive. I hit that. So now I know sound works. And I'm sure you Star Wars fans out there just recognize that. This is a coconut battery program I use, and it shows the battery. And it shows its capacity and its charge cycles, and I can see up here it's got 47%. So far this Mac looks like it's working pretty good. We got sound, we're charging the battery. I'm going to go ahead and click on About This Mac. And looky there. There is the appropriate serial number right there. And it shows up a 2017 MacBook Air. There's the serial number. So that's good. The other thing I will do is I will go ahead and check the EyeSight camera, which you'll be able to see me here in just a second. Right there in the EyeSight camera. So the camera works on the machine. So I know the camera's good. And that's this little gadget right up here. The other thing I do is I will check drive health. This is the customer's SSD. I don't think it might be in there. Let me look. Yep, the customer's SSD is in there. No, that's my tech drive. So I don't have the customer's SSD plugged in yet. I'll have to plug that in and check that off camera. But I also check the hard drive to make sure the hard drive's good. The other thing I'll do on these, I'll go ahead and bring up the program here, and I'll just make sure the keyboard's working good. I'll go ahead and go through and hit all the keys and make sure they're coming up, and make sure you don't have any dead keys on the keyboard. Make sure all that's good. Make sure the cap lights work. Make sure shift works. Make sure the keyboard's in good shape. And I'm using the USB port that's on the DC in. So by using this side, I'm already testing the USB port to make sure that's good. And the sound, which is also generated by the DC in, we tested by playing some Star Wars music. So this machine's good to go. Needs cleaned up and needs to sit around for a while and make sure there's no instability issues. But these boards I put in these have already been stability tested, so I have no problems trusting them. They've already been through their own QA. This is just to make sure there's no other water damage on the machine. As you can see, the trackpad works fine. So this repair is done, and the serial number's been transferred. So when the customer gets it back, it'll boot up just like nothing ever happened. So I just wanted to show you guys how to change a serial number when you have a board that you cannot fix, because you will encounter those things. And I do strongly recommend that if you are going to do serial numbers, you could go ahead and start out with the LBE tool, which is right here, and do them manually with a standard programmer. And actually I am kind of glad I have both these solutions anyway, because I have encountered a few boards that the Medusa won't read, like a couple older ones that this programmer still will, and as long as that programmer reads them and I can fix them with LBE, I'm good. So having both these tools in my toolbox helps me do more stuff, and I actually have been able to do Dell serial numbers as well. So this LBE does have its place, but it is a pain in the rump. If you're doing just MacBooks, you're going to have a better experience if you just start out with a CMI zapper and you buy the accessories and stuff you need to go with it. Make sure you get Medusa 3 that supports the Pomona clip as well. Some of the old boards, you definitely have to use the Pomona clip. And just to show you what that is, that's this thing right here, where you actually clip directly onto the chip. with this Pomona clip. So you have to have version 3 for that to get that support. Also, here's another accessory you can buy. It's a level splitter. And now we're switching from 3.3 volt logic to 1.8 volt logic. So this adapter basically converts the logic. So you can go to the newer chips that we're seeing on the T2 touch bars and the new T2 chip. There's a side BIOS chip I can take off and solder onto this and program, because you can't reach it through a JTAG connector because the T2 is the Guardian. So I can still change serial numbers on the new 2018 machines, but you know, who knows, because we don't know everything about the T2 chip yet. It's quite possible that Apple has something up their sleeve and they could brick them if we do that. So right now I'm not offering that, but I can do it. I figured I'd play with some of my own boards. Another accessory you can buy with it, which I do recommend, it's this keyboard. So it allows you to read the serial number into the Medusa, then you switch the VCR settings with these dip switches, and then you can edit it with this keyboard, and you have to like press this button and hold it and wait for the G and the H and the I, and that's your first letter. Then if it's a number, you can press it and you let up, it moves. And then you, if you want a W, you press this and you wait and you wait and you wait and you get a W. So it's a little time consuming. It's like programming a VCR, but it allows you to not use a computer. So what's nice about this is if you've got a board and you don't have the original board and you want it to match the bottom case, you go ahead and you change the storage serial number that's in this box first by plugging this gadget in, and then you hook it back up to your board and then you can write it. So this is a big time savings. The nice thing about, even though I complain about the functionality of the switches and the keyboard, you don't have to use a computer. This is autonomous. And you know, you definitely want to make sure you have backups of all your popular ROMs in case you trash one, you can restore it. If you do not have a ROM file backup, you definitely want to make the backup on the customer's replacement board before you start messing with this stuff. But if you do have backup files of those, you can just flash and go about your business. And this works pretty much most of the time. And it's a little quirky. I've had to get used to it, and you know, but it does the job. So if you are wanting to do MacBook serial numbers, clean the ME region, which is primarily what a lot of us repair guys do, or you want to do EFI unlocks, this is your device. And EFI unlocks, you know, I'm not a big fan of doing those, and unless somebody shows me a proof of purchase, I will not do one of those, because if they have a proof of purchase, they can just go to the Apple store and they'll do it for them. But I just don't want to be a party to deal with stolen equipment, so I don't use the EFI unlocks very often. So, but I just want to show that to you. It's a great device. It's a great tool. Go ahead and check out their website, and I hope this helped you. Thanks.